And is there the rule, Jack, that you have to have at least one all-star from each team? I mean,
no.
if it's a reflection of reality. Otherwise, I might not have an all-star.
Not in my,
Right? Why is that absurd?
Welcome to Atlas Balked, a weekly chronicle concerning the mundane, weird, and maybe even sometimes dramatic happenings of a simple fantasy baseball league. This podcast captures the thoughts and musings of Greg, Joe, Jack, and Tim, 4 of the 10 owners in the league. This is episode 16, entitled, In the Presence of Pure Evil. Okay, Balkers, welcome to episode 16. Greg, it's good to see you.
It's good to be back and feeling near 100%.
Yes, welcome back from the edge of death. God, you sounded horrible. Jack, good to see you.
Good to see you, my friend. Good to have you back, Greg.
Thank you, sir. Good to be back.
And we'll be missing Joe this week. He is actually embarking on a spirit journey to decide on what the fate of his team shall be in the warm waters of Tampa Bay. All right, so let's jump right into the Funkin' Punks visiting the Jacks Wax Packs. This was a game that was pretty close. I'm sure Jack was checking his phone every 7 minutes. But ultimately today, the Funkin' Punks just really kind of came out with a 5-for-31 effort as a team and lost 41.2. The Jacks Wax Packs take another win with 45.9, keeping the streak alive. Joey Votto for the Funkin' Punks, the first baseman, put up a strong 8.6. Quite a large percentage of the Funkin' Punks points, actually. Joey went 11 for 21 with 3 doubles, 3 home runs, 6 runs batted in, 6 runs, a stolen base, and 6 walks. A strong effort from Votto. Sal Perez, one of our favorites, had a strong 4.8 at the catching position. And the Blue Jays, this is probably the worst pitching score we've seen all year at 3.2. Boy, oh boy, that really cost him. On the other side, the home team, Jacks Wax Packs, Miguel Cabrera makes it into the highlights at DH with a 5. So for Miguel Cabrera, he went 6 for 22 with 3 home runs, 5 ribbies, 3 runs, 2 walks.
Like I said, you're going to have the good weeks, the bad weeks, and if you can pull away a win on the bad week, then that's what gets you into the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, you had the 4th highest score, so it wasn't that bad. But,
no.
You know,
I think because of the Red Sox, I mean, that was a big, and the Dodgers on my bench, I think at a 12 and change. So either way, it was okay. But that, that's you're not going to win by 10 points at pitching staff ever, really. I mean, that's like you said, that the Blue Jays probably had the lowest score. The Red Sox, that 13.7 might be one of the higher scores of the season. So
yeah, it's definitely top 5 and the highest this week. So congratulations, Turner. Any time estimated when he'll come back?
I still haven't heard. It's not going to be this month. Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
I have some third base depth. We'll talk later. Can I interject? I don't know if you guys saw it, but the trade has been just made official.
Kevin Maitan's value has been established.
Kind of inevitable, I think.
That's one of the more snoozer trades. I mean, that just was like, okay.
Interesting. It does, yeah.
I knew I had a feeling Pops wouldn't hold on to Maitan, and that ultimately Mikey coveted him, and so it was just a matter of time.
Kevin Maitan for Chris Davis. Chris with a C.
C.
Yes.
Odd move for Mikey to have made.
He wasn't using him, was he? I guess he was sometimes. We'll look at his lineup.
Yeah,
let's
let's take a look at Lethal Injection's game this week, because this is why giving up a Chris Davis seems a little suspect. So Lethal Injection went and visited the Dreamers, and Lethal Injection lost 34.4. The Dreamers put up 42.35. So that was that is the lowest score of the week for any team, 34.4, Lethal Injection. And they just traded for a 19-year-old third baseman in the minor leagues for the Braves, and they gave up a strong power-hitting corner infielder.
True. It is an interesting move looking at his situation. He looks, again, pretty comfortable in the division, but the kid's not going to help him on a run this year where Davis, at the very least, may have been able to. So that is an interesting move at this time.
Gives him depth, right?
The move's interesting, but not surprising. I mean, the particulars are interesting. Which player that Mikey gave to his dad. But, this deal was fated to happen the moment that I traded Maitan to Pop. I think it was a fait accompli when I traded this guy to Pops, that eventually, Mikey was behind there saying, hey, you know what, Dad, trade this guy to Greg, get Maitan, and then we'll work something out in the future. So, not surprising.
I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that Chris Davis was that he spurred a chain of events so that I could get Chris Davis. Like I said, for Mike, it makes sense to hold on to him because of the situation he's in. For Mike's dad, you're not in it this year. Like, that's the guy that you're going to start building around.
Yeah, it's strange. So Chris Davis is on the DL, expected back in middle of July. So not helping Mikey right now. But boy, that's the kind of depth I would imagine you'd want in the playoffs, right?
Right, and that's when he doesn't need help right now. He's like I said, in a pretty comfortable spot. Again, as upset as I was about Turner, and you said it last week. Thanks, Tim. I might as well get the injury now before the playoffs start. So it sucks to lose him, but the fact that he'll hopefully be back and playing for me before the playoffs start. It's odd. I'm not 100% what either person was thinking.
I do what I can to help you out, buddy. Okay, so Lethal Injection, their top player, Anthony Rizzo, back at first base, scored a 4.8. Their catcher, Brian McCann, put up a 1.2. And the Indians, who have come back, put up an 11.4. So almost a third of their points came through their pitching staff. That's never a good sign. With the Dreamers, J.D. Martinez, the outfielder for Detroit, put up a 5.6 as the top player there by going 8 for 20, had a double, a triple, 2 home runs, 4 ribbies, 3 runs, and 4 walks. Gary Sanchez put up a 2.8 for them, so that's a pretty normal catching score, much lower for Gary Sanchez than usual. And the Diamondbacks put up a strong 9.55. And let me just go ahead and tell you all what Anthony Rizzo did. He went 6 for 26 with a double, 2 home runs, 3 ribbies, 5 runs, 3 walks, and he was caught stealing. So this is one where I think Mikey had talked about last week, saying he was concerned about his team. He did have some fears there. And I don't know. The record is strong. He's still in a strong position in his division. Although Chris is, I think, making some noise there. But 34.4 as you're in the final third of the season is got to be a little disconcerting.
Yeah, I think Mikey's shown that kind of Jekyll and Hyde nature all year, and I think that he's right to be concerned. If Chris closes the deal today and is what will he be, 6-7? And I think that definitely that race is far from complete. And based upon that move we just talked about, who's to say what will happen in that division? It'll be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, we'll go through the wild card and the division standings too, and it's pretty interesting. Chris's team is very important in the final playoff spot as we get down. So I think this is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, I would like to confirm that pretty much every scenario that I painted last week did not happen this week. So, the Dreamers and Omission both stood up strong, and then of course your situation didn't turn out too great. So, now all of a sudden you're looking at the Dreamers, and I think we'll get into Omission in a second. And then Chris is an interesting one as well. It shouldn't be the case, but he's got his team has always been these guys that just kind of mature without anybody kind of seeing it, and then all of a sudden they're just good. It's possible that just throwing out a lineup every week that he may be able to cause some ripples in the playoff picture.
So let's go over to the 47 Kamikaze visited St. Locash. 47 Kamikaze lost. They put up a 41.9. I should say we put up a 41.9. And St. Locash Stinkfist still has a couple of players in play, but are clearly going to win at 48.2. For the 47 Kamikaze, Bryce Harper put up a 6.8. They went 8 for 24 with 2 doubles, 2 home runs, 6 ribbies, 6 runs, and 6 walks. Jonathan Lucroy put up a 3 at the catcher position, and the Astros in the top half of pitching staffs put up an 8.9. For St. Locash, once again, Jose Ramirez, playing second base this week, put up an 8.8. And he did that by going 10 for 28 with 2 doubles, 3 home runs, 7 runs batted in, 11 runs, a stolen base, and 3 walks. Grandal at the catching position put up a 3.2, and the Angels put up a 7.2. So St. Locash really, taking care of business this week. And again, getting back into the mix. It'd be interesting to see or to hear what Chris is thinking.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if he is, obviously he didn't have faith because of some of the moves he's made and things he said. But like I said, he's got guys that are absolutely blossoming fantasy-wise in Ramirez and Lamb. And then these other guys that are, like I said, kind of bouncing back with Zimmerman and Andrus has been phenomenal this year, given many points. I mean, even Polanco got him 3.5 points this week. So it's weird. It's odd to think, but Andrus got him a 9.4 this week. So between him and Ramirez in what is his middle infield, almost 20 points. So. And the Angel staff got him a 7. So, again, 48 points is nothing to sneeze at. And whether he can do that consistently or not, I guess, is a question. But like I said, these guys, I believe individually in most of his players. So it's going to be interesting.
Well, Jack, I don't think it's a lack of faith on Chris's part. I think clearly he listened to you, declared Tim the wild card, and he lost all hope. So I myself called the good people at CBS Sportsline.com and were yelling at them because I said there's obviously something wrong with the site, because I was told that 47 Kamikaze was going to win every game going away, and yet there they were losing. So I berated this intern named Lewis for probably a better part of an hour for, I was distracted by a rerun of Cops that I particularly liked. So
for me, this was a great week in the sense that I actually finally came to realize that my team was out of it. And I feel emancipated. I feel like finally, the weight is off my shoulders, and my mission is clear: build for next year, and provide as much damage as I can on the way to the end of the season. Unfortunately, I didn't really provide a lot of damage against St. Locash, and made some poor calls in terms of who I put in. So we'll see. But for me in particular, this week was the week where I decided, you know what, it's done, it's over, and I'm playing for next year. And St. Locash, obviously, if he's into it, really could make a move. He actually tried to work a deal with me with Stanton this week, which was interesting. He obviously did not offer me enough value, and still trying to make me feel bad about the Harper trade, which I've cleansed myself of for a long time. So if you're listening, Chris, that's not going to work anymore. You got to give me some fucking value. But other than that,
I mean, he switched his guy out as soon as Conforto was hurt. He switched him out, so he's paying attention. Like I said, weirder shit has happened.
No, I think he's definitely in it after this week. I really do. All kidding aside, I think that's 6-8. Suddenly, this has been an interesting week as we've been talking about.
This was a fascinating week. Let's move over to Mission Commission to talk about Mission Commission. This was a team that a lot of us were kind of thinking had a really tough path to the playoffs. We've been ripping on the Cardinals staff. The Cardinals staff go out, and they're still in play right now, but as of this moment, they were at 11 points. So the Mission Commission gets a win. They put up 54.8 points. Reardon Metal, Joe's team, loses at 42.9, so the streak has ended. For Mission Commission, Chris Owings, the middle infielder, put up a 7.8. He went 9 for 23 with 5 doubles, 3 home runs, 6 ribbies, 6 runs, a stolen base, and 2 walks. Real Muto put up a 3.4 in the catcher's position. As I said, the Cardinals put up 11 points. For Reardon Metal in the losing effort, Mike Moustakos, he put up a 5.2 at the third base position. Went 7 for 24, a double, 3 home runs, 3 runs batted in, 5 runs, and a walk. Buster Posey put up a 4, and the Nationals, which put up a 7.7. It seems like either they score 7.7 or 13.7, and you just kind of pick your week. But there was no way Joe was even going to win. Joe knew he lost and was complaining, I think by Tuesday or Wednesday, which, no 9-win team should be complaining. Big statement game for Scotty. This has implications in the wild card as well as in the division race. I don't know. I mean, should we just start believing?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a chance, but I'm not sure if I'm a full believer just yet. I mean, it's a tightening race, and I think Scotty's definitely got a leg up on the wild card. But I still think that the Dreamers are the team to beat in that wild card race, if I was handicapping it right now.
Yeah, I've liked Scotty's team the whole time. I did. In fact, I mentioned last week that without looking at the schedule, I would have picked them to hold on to the wild card spot. But they had some tough games coming up, this being one of them. So, again, you score 55 points, then, most of the time, Tim, it doesn't matter who you're playing, you're going to come away with a win. So, Rendon has become very, very good fantasy wise once again, and this Pham son of a bitch is just dropping 5s on a regular basis. And Real Muto is like I said, is another guy that has moved up to that second tier of fantasy catchers this year. He's been as steady as anybody. This is a team that could definitely do some damage on their way to and even in the playoffs if Judge continues to do what he does. The other thing to consider with these guys, first of all, they have a somewhat strong bench. Again, Frazier, I know he's not your favorite guy, Greg, but solid as a third baseman to be on your bench. Scope is another guy in the middle infield that's been really solid this year. And then they got Pollock is going to be coming back here, hopefully for them within the next week or so.
Wow.
Maybe 2. So that's where, that's the spot that this 5-point Pham son of a bitch has been filling. So again, he's not going to get a lot more than that out of Pollock, even, as good as he is. But to know that you have that consistency, I'd rather depend on him on a weekly basis. So that kind of takes that out of play.
5-point Pham, and a nickname is born.
That was the name of my band, actually.
5-point Pham, very alliterative.
So let's check out Mr. Blonde's heroes because, wow, Greg's team put up a 51 as he went and visited Bad Street and just crushed Bad Street, 51 to 36.75. Jose Abreu, starting to warm up with the weather, put up a 6.6. He did that by going 10 for 30 with 5 doubles, 2 home runs, 8 runs batted in, 3 runs, and a walk. Matt Wieters put up a 2.2 from the catching position, and the Yankees put up a 7.6. You need a better pitching staff.
Suddenly, yeah.
I got one for sale. For Bad Street, Adam Duvall put up an 8.4, went 9 for 24 with 4 doubles, 3 home runs, 10 ribbies, 6 runs, a stolen base, and 2 walks. Alex Avila put up a 2.8 from the catching position, and the Cubs flat out suck at 5.75. So, it's Greg. Are you back in it? I mean, it's a coin flip every week. It came up heads this time, right?
Yeah, it came up heads. I wouldn't say that I'm back in it, although this win wasn't a fluke. As you said, the Yankees, they're recently really not contributing anything. And it was a well-rounded team victory. Altuve, Sano, Odor, Brett Gardner. My God, and I had Matt Adams, who'd been one of my hotter players, go down. Broxton didn't do anything, but I still was able to pull it out. So it's satisfying. It's certainly more fun to win than to lose, and it's heartening to see some. Yeah, I mean, it's heartening to see some of these players who, I'm thinking about. I'm primarily thinking about the future, and so to see Odor heat up and to see that Abreu at 29 or 30 or whatever he is, maybe he isn't in that decline phase that everyone kind of thought he was these last 2 or 3 years. My interest is still there for this year because there is an interesting race happening, although I don't have real high hopes, and I'm certainly not ready to go out and buy a pitching staff or overpay for one. But it's fun. It's fun to win, and we'll see what happens next week. As the Dreamers would say, we'll see what happens in 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay, so let's take a look at the division races. In the Griffey division, which is quite frankly the most boring division in this league, Jack's Wax Packs is now at 10-3 and is unstoppable. 47 Ronan and Mr. Blonde's Heroes are tied at 5.8. Slight edge to Ronan with more points, but Blonde's Heroes, Blondie, as Jack likes to call him, is streaking hard and putting up a lot of points. The Funkin' Punks are in 4th place at 4.9. We've got the Bonds division, Lethal Injection at 8-5, which seemed almost insurmountable just 7 days ago. Now looks, I don't know how to. So Lethal Injection is winning at 8-5, but St. Locash at 6-7 is not far behind with 6 games to go. And I would love to see some action in this division. I mean, this would be really fun to see this come down to the wire with both these teams, and get their thoughts, each of their thoughts on what's happening there. Bad Street has been lapped. I mean, he's at 3-10 and is a non-entity. The McGuire division, Reardon Metal at 9-4, Omission Commission at 8-5, and the Dreamers at 7-6, all winning records. And I think the gravity of Omission Commission's win was not lost on Joe this week. I think this fed right into his fears, and the fact that Omission Commission is streaking and that Reardon Metal just lost his winning streak, and that the Dreamers are still hanging around. Again, I call this the blood sport division for a reason, and it's quite frankly a lot of fun. And Greg, I agree with you. I think even being out of it myself, this is one I'm really going to watch with a lot of interest. So if we take a look at the wild card, we've got the Omission Commission in first place in the wild card right now with an 8-5 record. The Dreamers in second place at 7-6, and St. Locash at 6-7. So even the wild card, almost as a kind of a fantasy 4th division here, is going to be fun to watch as these 3 teams battle it out. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. I mean, could this be one where Joe actually ends up outside looking in, and Omission Commission and the Dreamers make it happen? I don't know.
I think Joe thinks so. I mean, my God, he abandoned the cast tonight. He went off the grid. He's been texting us random pictures from what appears to be some wilderness. So, my God, I think he's deeply distraught. He needs to get centered, and he's gone back to nature to try to figure out who to start at catcher next week.
He's recharging the batteries.
Exactly. He's going to sit Posey, I think.
I think I'm going to call Chris and try to trade Boston back to him.
Nice. I think I really, I don't want to keep harping on this boring trade as you called it, Tim, but it is interesting that Chris Davis for my Tan trade, looking at Mikey's roster, if God forbid Rizzo or Thames, I guess, is his backup, but if that happens, he would be loving to have Chris Davis if he comes off the DL, of course.
Yeah, I don't know. Talking to Mikey last week, I just felt like, this is a no-brainer. You're going to walk right in, and maybe that's still the case. That's just not a move I'm used to seeing Mikey make. And then looking at the way this week played out, and this was a trade that was made just 30, 40 minutes ago. I mean, so he knows what happened this week. It's just a little hard to decipher. I'm sure Mikey's got his reason. Gentlemen, why don't we take a break right here, and we'll come back. And we'll review the all-star teams that Jack put together based on first-half performance for the Juiceless League performance. So, talk to you in a few minutes, boys.
Strange ways coming today. I put $1 in my pocket and I threw it away. Been a long time since the federal dime made a jukebox sound like a mirror of mine. To calm my worries, fix my thoughts, full my hopes like a juggernaut walks. Now let down souls can't feel the rhythm. Sorry entertainers like aerobics victims. Hybrid people light a wooden matchstick. Toxic fumes in the burning plastic. Beats are broken, bones are spastic. Robots talking with a southern accent.
Okay, welcome back, Balkers. I'm going to go ahead and hand the microphone over to Jack so he can talk about the Juiceless All-Star Game selections.
So what I did, I went through our league, the Juiceless League, and we play in a MLB league, so we don't break up by American or National League. But I did go ahead and do just that and break up the American and the National League players by position. So in the Juiceless League, 2017, we were to have an all-star game right now. These are the folks that would be starting and backing up in each of the positions. A lot of them the same as the major leagues, of course, but some major differences, and that's kind of what I wanted to point out. So we'll start with the American League catcher. Statistically, fantasy-wise, Sal Perez is the best catcher in the American League, and he is starting in the Major League All-Star game. So they got that one right. They also got the backup right, which is Gary Sanchez. Those two guys definitely separated themselves from the rest of the group there. In the National League, catcher, the gentleman we all know and love, should statistically be starting. Buster Posey is the juiceless starter for the National League. However, the backup in the Major League game is going to be Molina once again. But this year, and we've talked about him quite a bit, JT Realmuto has moved his way up and become the second best statistical fantasy catcher in the National League this year, edging out Molina. Molina is close. Moving over to first base in the American League, very cool story in Major League Baseball. Justin Smoke getting the opportunity to start. Guy's having a phenomenal year. One of those guys that kind of had a comeback season, kind of fell off for a while. Nobody really believed in him. Ironically enough, that same story holds true for Juiceless starter for the American League, except it's not Justin Smoke. It would be Logan Morrison.
My boy
actually has more fantasy points right now than any other first baseman in the American League. Most of the first base talent is in the National League. However, so Morrison would be the starter. Abreu actually edges out Smoke statistically in the American League, but it was close. So Smoke is right there. But interesting that Morrison actually would be the starter for the American League in the juiceless All-Star game. The National League, Zimmerman is the guy that got chosen for Major League Baseball, and he's having a great year. But in juiceless, he is actually third in the National League. Goldschmidt is the top player overall, and Joey Votto is actually a little bit better than Zimmerman as well. So those would be the two guys representing the NL. Third base, very cool story. We talked about him quite a bit. I love the guy. Jose Ramirez is starting in Major League and is starting in the Juiceless League, the top third baseman in the American League, followed by Sano as the backup, and that's the same in both, like I said, Major and Juiceless.
Jack, I wonder if Ramirez would have started at other positions as well. So he's eligible at second base, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. He would. And I'll bring that up here in a second.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, but yes, he as a third baseman, his primary position he would start. National League, not a lot of surprise, although Lamb would actually be the starter. Arenado is the second best fantasy third baseman in the National League. Lamb has actually passed him and is now number one. So that was a little bit of a shock. Moving to the middle infield, American League is just the same again as it is in the Major League game. It's Altuve and Scope are the starters. But yes, Ramirez is better than Scope. So yes, he wouldn't start over Altuve, but he's right there with them. Second base, it is Daniel Murphy on both teams. He's the best National League fantasy second baseman. They got LeMahieu and Harrison in the Major League game, which neither is horrible. D. Gordon is a little bit better fantasy-wise than both of them, but not the strongest position in the National League right now. Shortstop, Carlos Correa is starting for the American League. However, in the Juiceless League, Elvis Andrus is actually ahead of Correa right now. And in the National League, guy that's just not getting a lot of love yet. It's early. He's young, and now he's injured. Trey Turner is the top performing shortstop in the National League, followed by Seager, and then third is not the National League starter Zach Cozart. Third would be a gentleman by the name of Chris Owings, and then Cozart's down the line a little bit. So it's cool. Cozart's getting the start. It's good for him. Votto's going to buy him a donkey. Statistically, there are a few guys that are better.
Votto's buying him a donkey.
What is?
Yeah. Votto was, pushing for him to get in there, and has openly said multiple times that if they win, I guess near their spring training place, there's some donkeys, and Cozart would bring his kids down there and feed the donkeys. So Votto told him if he made the All-Star game as a starter, he would buy him a donkey.
They're very attractive animals.
So yeah, Cozart's got he's got that going for him, which is nice. Finally, we come to the outfield. Not a lot of surprise here. The American League, Judge is number 1. Springer is number 2. Trout probably would be number 3 without the injury. Mookie Betts would be the next guy up, and probably would be the next guy up, and I think he was the next guy up in the voting as well. So the DH for the American League game is going to be Corey Dickerson, and he is statistically the next guy up after Betts. So
great year, great
year. Yeah, he. After leaving Colorado, it took him a little while. He really started picking it up towards the end of last year, and then just has continued it on.
That's cool. That's nice to see. Yeah.
Another one of those guys in Tampa that's overperforming, I guess. National League again. Blackman number 1, Harper number 2. Both those guys are starting in the game. Ozuna is actually the 4th best outfielder in the National League in the Juiceless, barely. Being edged out, believe it or not, by Adam Duvall, who also had a huge week this week. So Duvall would be the 3rd outfielder fantasy wise. Which
Adam who, right?
He's kind of quiet about it, right?
He's underrated.
Yeah, but he's
gotta give him props.
Top 10 fantasy outfielder at the moment. So a lot of guys, like I said, that you'd expect to be there, and quite a few that you really didn't. Some of those guys kind of jumped out at me.
Great work.
Although some of the launch angle crowd is represented, I saw in the real reserves. Yonder Alonso is on the team, and you're seeing obviously we mentioned Logan Morrison. I guess he's a Final 5 candidate in real life. That launch angle group is out there doing well. Cozart, you could almost call him one of those players.
We call him the La La Club. The Launch Angle Club.
Yeah, there you go.
Saw an interesting video on Francisco Lindor and how launch angle actually hurt him. And, he really got addicted. He had a couple of home runs early on, thought it was, because he had a little bit of an uppercut and was putting backspin on the ball. And what happened was that he just didn't have enough to put it out of the park. And so he was actually giving up more than he was getting from that adjustment, and went back to a more line drive type approach. And oddly enough, he hit 2 line drive home runs. I guess it can give, but can also take away. And if you think about some of these players that have had success with maybe adjusting their swing path, Logan Morrison, Yonder Alonso, these are bigger, beefier players,
right.
Smoke,
that's exactly right.
that maybe have the strength to do it. But someone like a Lindor, who's more of a welterweight as opposed to a heavyweight. He doesn't have enough behind the ball, enough weight to move that ball the extra 10 feet.
Well, yeah, I guess that is the downside. We haven't talked about that potential, but that makes good sense. I mean, maybe Odor, maybe Addison Russell, maybe they've become enamored with the idea of themselves being, middle infielding power hitters, the pressure of the Stories and the Seagers and all of that maybe getting to them. And
well, and just, as Jack had sent out too, as he's kind of lit on the juiced ball argument and just the number of home runs now that were hit. And I think, Jack, you were saying the record was tied or broken with a couple of days left to go in June. Is that right?
Yeah, they ended up setting the record. Ironically, it was Justin Smoke with an opposite field home run that did it.
Wow.
So, and then added on from there. They ended up with 1,107, maybe just over 1,100 home runs in the month, which is the most ever. I noticed that the third most ever was May of this year. So two of the top 3 months in the history of baseball, which is odd because I never heard him talk about it in May, are the last 2 months that have been played. So.
Yeah, Pirates beat writer was talking to both Pirates pitchers and Pirates hitters, and they were, not that they're exactly mashing, but they were talking about they definitely are proponents of the idea that there's a juiced ball. They were like, yeah, it's like it feels like we're hitting golf balls. They are just harder right now. And the interesting thing in that article was, they also were talking, the Pirates beat writer had access to some Japanese league player. I don't know if it was a player from the Japanese league or a U.S. player had gone over there. And apparently I don't even know it's a secret. Maybe it's a poorly kept secret in the Japanese league that they conspire to adjust the ball every year based upon this being the league, based upon their desire for offense. If
really?
It's a down year if it's a down year for offense, then they not so secretly make adjustments to the density of the ball, whatever they do to the ball.
I don't like
so
that
they can ramp up that's in. It was a Pirates bullpen guy, Wade LeBlanc, saying, maybe he'd pitch over there, I don't know, but saying that we were kind of as pitchers, it's. I guess as long as it's consistent and we're all dealing with the same thing, that's fine. But, we should, hopefully the owners of the world kind of make an adjustment in their mindset about how much they're valuing what we do if they're making conscious decisions to impact the offensive numbers in the game. So
I wonder if a harder ball benefits the pitcher. I mean, we know that the harder ball, once the bat makes contact with it, does not benefit the pitcher in some cases, right? But I wonder if that allows for a tighter curve or the ability to place a fastball more precisely where you want it, or does this kind of take it away? Like, for example, when you're pitching in Colorado in the thin air, the curves don't curve as much. The sliders don't slide as much. So the advantage goes to the batter for both teams, obviously. But a harder ball, does that allow you to get a tighter spin with your curve? Or, if you're throwing a changeup, does it allow you to, take another half a mile per hour off it?
It may. I don't know that that's the case. But if you, consider everything and the statistics and percentages and such, that even if it does, it's still going to benefit the hitter. Because you still have to place it, you still have to,
right.
So the regardless, the fact of the matter is the bat's gonna hit the ball a certain amount of times, and a harder ball is just gonna travel further. It's not that ridiculous to consider. I've worked in sports in a much less professional and situation, and but I've seen crazier shit happen to for the benefit of the game, for the benefit of entertainment, for the you think about again, we're hardcore, so we watch baseball pretty religiously every year, but
right,
there's a lot of people that don't, and when McGuire and Sosa and just that whole rush, it was big. I mean, it was huge. There were a lot of people that don't give a shit about baseball right now that were watching baseball during that time, and it was an exciting time. I'm sure it was exciting for the folks that were putting money in their pockets, and then the whole PED stuff came, and Now all of a sudden, you can't do that. Oh shit! Well, now numbers are dropping, and well, how can we recreate that? And still be okay for the kids, and still so, again, it wouldn't shock me.
All right, boys. Well, listen, great work, Jack, as always. Let's go ahead and refill our cups. Let's come back and we'll talk a little bit about Greg's experiences in Southern California at VidCon with all those, what are they, tweeners? Bunch of tweeners?
Yeah, mostly tweeners. Young teenagers for sure.
Young teenagers. Mostly. Yes, mostly. All right. We'll talk to you in a few minutes, boys.
I'm feeling rough, I'm feeling raw, I'm in the prime of my life. Let's make some music, make some money, find some bottles for wise. I went to Paris, shoot some heroin, fuck with the stars.
Welcome back, Balkers. And Greg, I would love to hear about your time at VidCon. I know you went down there for your daughter, and sounds like you had a lot of fun and interesting experiences. So how was it?
Well, I'll preface all my comments by, overall, it was a really interesting experience. But, guys, this was my first con that I spent multiple days at. It all kind of arose rather quickly and entered my consciousness from literally nothing to being something that my daughter expressed as being very excited about and very important for her to go. And so when I was able to make it happen, that was great. But I had no idea what to expect. YouTube is now, for my daughter's generation, what television, maybe records were for us. I mean, maybe combined, because they can access so many different things via YouTube. Imagine the largest of convention centers with hundreds of exhibitors and booths ranging from, DreamWorks, Disney DreamWorks, to candy vendors, to small web businesses and things like that. It was a very lively environment. And now that we've embarked, guys, as broadcasters of our own, I thought, well, okay, this will be great. I'll go and I'll spend some time with my daughter and learn some things maybe. And, the spending time with my daughter was the first notion that I was quickly disabused of, though. As on day one, we walked around together and I was like, do you want to go look at that? And just a look of anger. Do you want to look at that? A look of disgust. And I was like, well, what do you want to look at? She's like, actually, Dad, is there any way that you could just go away and so that I could be free to roam around here and do what I want to do? And so we did that. And again, because of the convention center security, I felt very comfortable doing it. But guys, I don't know to what extent you have a awareness of YouTube, quote unquote, stars, but it's
zero.
I mean, some of the things that, and I showed Carly, subsequently, I showed her the video of this. There was a moment outside where we were getting ready to go into an Uber to head for dinner for a little while, where the parking garage across the street, some YouTube star, somebody I've never heard of any of these people, and some YouTube star, it was like a herd of wildebeests. There was a ripple through the crowd that I don't even remember who it was in the parking garage, and the security began to quickly swing a rather large iron gate closed, but they failed to do it in a timely enough fashion, as probably 80 screaming 13 to 14-year-old girls in a herd went streaming through that gate, like past security, to chase down this person who I've never heard of, screaming. I walked infinite laps around the convention center, and you didn't go more than 5 seconds without a random burst of screaming going on. And it was just really amazing, the level of knowledge that these attendees had about these stars.
They're the new rock stars. This is me at an all-day rock concert. It's the same. It's the same setup now.
Well, I did kind of start to feel a darker side, though. Not super dark, but maybe more frustrating. Jack, are your kids at all fans of or aware of a gentleman named Markiplier?
Does not sound familiar.
Yeah, he was not on my radar either. But we waited 2 hours. We wanted to get good. Well, I didn't want to get good seats. Carly wanted to get good seats to see this guy, his Q&A on stage. People were encouraged to tweet questions to Markiplier. Again, a guy who, he alternates between playing video games and making, I guess, humorous comments, and then sometimes he'll do things like the cinnamon challenge, or that sort of thing. So anyway, we waited for hours for this guy to come out, and when he finally did come out, he had a very Jim Jones vibe to me. The unadulterated adoration of the crowd. I guess I can understand that. If it was the Dukes of Hazzard back 20, 30 years ago, I probably would have been the same way.
Woo!
But
Daisy.
But this guy proceeded to interview himself. He's like, guys, I have great news. The Q&A, all the questions that you guys have spent the last 2 hours tweeting to me, I'm not going to answer those. Instead, I'm going to ask myself questions that I really want to know about myself, and then I'm going to answer them for you. And I was like, wow, is this some sort of a comedy routine? And I won't even attempt to, encapsulate it or to paraphrase for this guy, but I began to furiously jot down notes on my iPhone because I didn't want to. I felt as if I was entering into a dream state, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't misremembering any of this stuff later. But I was jotting down names like Jim Jones, and this guy, he had an affect that it was sincere too. Like, he wasn't putting on because he knew that he was in a room full of 13-year-olds. He genuinely seemed to think that he was some combination of Albert Schweitzer and George Carlin and Plutarch. And, and I'm thinking like Pol Pot and Jim Jones and Stalin. That's what I was thinking about. Just the level of grandeur that he associated with himself. I jotted down that for the first time in my life, I felt that I was in the room, in the same space with pure evil. I really was.
You're being a little hyperbolic here.
No, I'm not. I'm not exaggerating at all. I felt really disturbed, and after the session, I pulled my daughter aside. I was like, I found that actually quite disturbing, and I'm not joking in the least, because the level of influence that this guy has on millions of children is terrifying to me. Based upon hearing him talk, and based upon what I perceive to be a level of narcissism that is off the fucking charts. This is a guy who has a captive audience of millions of children every day, is influencing them, even if it's just influencing them to be dunces. But it is frightening because he believes sincerely that he's saving lives by playing World of Warcraft or whatever he does online.
Yeah, the vetting process that even we went through as kids, and it just doesn't exist anymore. I mean, everything is so readily available to everyone at any time, and I try to the best of my ability, keep tabs on my 17-year-old, and for at least for the most part, know not where he's at physically. I know where he's at physically most of the time. It's where he's at, when he's on his phone or on his PlayStation or on his iPad. Or if you hadn't have gone to this particular situation, the show, you still wouldn't know this. So before, in order for us to be influenced by entertainment, it came from 3 or 4 different sources, and our parents and the people around us were able to kind of filter that. For the most part, it just doesn't exist anymore.
And the FCC filtered it. I'm certainly I'm not one for censorship, but and again, Tim, I'm not over dramatizing it all, and I don't think this Markiplier is evil. Maybe I don't think he's evil, but I mean, let's face it, Jim Jones happened. Jonestown happened. There are maniacs out there, and for the first time, I saw the potential for harm on YouTube. Not just exposing children to age inappropriate material. But there was a level of intimacy. These children, were deep inside this guy's psyche because the level of interaction between him on stage and these screaming children was disturbing. I can't tell you the number of "I love yous" that children screamed out, to which he replied, very sincerely, "I love you too."
So,
and it was like,
Greg,
oh,
let me just kind of provide a little counterpoint here. So, first of all, you sound like every parent ever when their kids are happy for their fans. So, when the Beatles came and the young ladies were screaming and yelling and passing out, right? And with their long hair and their hippie affect, this was the end of civilization as we know it. And, I kind of think of like people who think Andrew Dice Clay is actually Andrew Dice Clay and not a fucking character. I mean, this guy is an entertainment. He's playing a character. He's not, you're taking it real because it's, there's a lot of fear there, right? Like, oh my God, did this guy really think, could he actually impact someone's lives? And, you're kind of making fun of him for saying that crazy to think he is, yet you're actually afraid that he in fact is.
Well, but to Tim, though, I would respectfully counter, though, that the level of interaction in the volume of content. I mean, this guy, he so many times devalued his own product by saying, the times when I go on and I put up content that I really care about, it's gratifying to see that, it really makes me feel good. But I realize that even the content that I really don't put a lot of effort into, even that gets minimally 1 million views. Then I was just thinking, oh boy, you're really selling yourself here, pal. You're really dedicated. But of course, they were like screaming with affirmation about him phoning it in on 80% of his broadcast or whatever. But he's interacting he has hours, hundreds and thousands of hours of content that he's uploading, and then he's interacting with children in real time through the comments and through the responses. And so to me, that's the difference. Yeah, Dice, he said some bad words, but Dice wasn't ever going to be somebody that I was going to be able to banter with or to influence with or to be influenced by directly, or to say, hey, Dice, what do you think? Should I, smack that girl in 8th grade and treat her like crap? And he wasn't going to be able to say, oh yeah, I think so. But these YouTube stars, they're interacting with our children in real time. And again, most of it's very innocent and entertaining and fun. But I saw the potential for, wow, this is a different type of intimacy with fans. It was really in that moment, and it passed pretty quickly, and then the rest of the time was a lot of fun. But I did feel chilled in that moment.
Mm-hmm. But it sounds like you're more concerned about the reality of social media and the flattening of distance, right? That to what Jack was saying, that where's my kid's head at and who's he communicating with? We think about just the level of interaction we've had with Atlas Balked, right? And people being able to communicate with us that we've never, physically met before. Right. And, as a parent, as someone who cares about our children, we can't lock down, these types of things. So I agree with you there 100%. This is the future. These are the rock stars of the future. It was amazing and interesting that you actually got a peek inside. And were there and had an opportunity to really get a chance to see, what it is that gets our kids charged up.
Yeah, it was good. I mean, again, taking that one kind of chilling moment out of it, it was interesting and I mean, certainly the kids had a great time. All those kids, they had looks of fun on their face. I didn't get the slightest sense. It's felt very community oriented. My daughter met a number of other children there, and everyone seemed very friendly, and that was good. I mean, that was nice, and it really was. As we embark on our podcasting adventure, it was motivating, and I was like, wow, this is really. Look at these people that they're doing something that they love. They're entertaining. They're having fun, and they're they're not there's not big operations there. It's a camera and a microphone and a computer, and they are off they go. Guys, before we go, can I turn the subject to back to baseball though briefly?
Yes.
I have I had something occur to me today that I want your opinion on, both from a fantasy impact and from it's the old baseball rule today. And from a kind of a, Tim, I know how you love to think of baseball as a business. And so I want there's a business element to it as well. So it, nothing new, but it really dawned on me today as I was watching the Pirates broadcast, how deeply entrenched the notion of resting your team's starters on Sundays is. And it really bothered me. And it was funny because, guys, I love Bob Walk, the Pirates color broadcaster, and he mentioned it too. And then my best friend was texting me mentioning it too. It was a moment of zen for me. But from a customer standpoint, Sunday has got to be the second or third most well attended day in any team's week, right? Would you guys agree?
Yeah, I would think so, right? Yeah. For working stiffs like us, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And so, and it really, and it brought me back to my childhood of going to Sunday ball games and like being excited, and then realizing that, 3 of my favorite players were on the bench, because it's a Sunday game. And so, it made me think of a lot of things, and it made me think about, from a strategy standpoint, would there not be some wisdom for some real manager to go ahead and alternate or alter the day that he gives his regulars rest, because he's putting some of his backups against the other team's backups. Maybe if you played your best players and let them rest on Tuesdays, you'd start winning more on Sundays, and it would be some sort of a competitive advantage. I'll start with that.
They and they do. I mean, guys get rest. Different guys get different timing of rest, but Sunday it happens the most because it's mostly day games. So there's a shorter amount of time between the last game they played and that game. So it just kind of makes sense in that aspect. That's that, and I think they're just fucking with people that play fantasy baseball. So it is from a fantasy standpoint, it's a little frustrating because all of a sudden your star players aren't playing on the last day of the week. But yeah, I agree. Especially being down in Florida, and we do it did a lot of spring training games, and yeah, there's nothing as deflating as showing up to the park and seeing the second string guys in there instead of your favorite players. It's kind of a bummer.
So that's my second point, and maybe I'll suggest it as a potential rule change. Although I know we're entrenched in our paradigms as well, but maybe our league week should be Sunday to Saturday and start over on Sunday. So you're starting off the week with the game that by tradition is fluky. It's less predictable who's going to start, that week. Or that day.
I mean, it'll change the games. I don't know that mathematically, if you're still using it, I don't know that it will change. It's funny because for the first time that I can think, maybe ever, earlier this week, I was thinking about a way to remove Sunday from the equation as well without screwing. I even went and this is just kind of sitting there thinking, my brain went to the point where the game was from Monday to Saturday, and on Sunday you played your top 4 players, or your worst 2 scores were removed. And again, I don't think it's as big of a deal at this point to really need to get into it, but it has the potential, as some of these things are happening more and more. It from a fantasy standpoint, it does affect it.
Well, the Pirates sat, arguably their 2 best players today, Jay Hay and Kutch, were both on the bench, and instead they put a total scrub from AAA who's hitting 086 in, and they started Jaso in the outfield. Although Jaso's been hitting okay lately, but But Tim, you're good at figuring tough concepts out. Wouldn't like a wouldn't a Sunday to Saturday schedule be essentially the same thing? It's 7 days. It's just maybe the first week it would be a short week, but essentially it's the same thing. It's a 7-day period. Wouldn't that work all out in the end there?
No, fuck up.
Why?
It affects everybody. Like,
I know, but it's anticlimactic. The last game of the, I mean, seriously, the last, Odor sat on the bench today. Hutch sat on the bench. Jay Hayes on the bench. It's anticlimactic.
Yeah, it's the fucking Pirates. Like, no, I'm just kidding. The reality is,
no, there were three guys in my game. He had two guys, and in what was a close game for a while, he had two guys not play. So it does,
I mean, think about the World Series. I mean, think about the championship. You're down to the last fucking day of the last game, and they're going to rest guys. That's annoying, and they don't seem to do it with the same frequency on Saturday. Another way to mitigate this thing would be maybe, and again, it would be a pain for commissioners to track, but one or two non-injury substitutions that we can make in a week. And it would, for all the fuckers who go on paternity leave, or
that's interesting.
Whatnot, just one or two non-injury substitution. A guy runs it, you have a guy on the bench who's fucking lighting it up and it's driving you crazy. Or you have a guy in your starting lineup who's hit a cold streak like you wouldn't believe, or he's day to day, or the coach is sitting him to just get his head straight. One or two of those things. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah.
I do like that. And a lot of the time, if you're paying attention, you'll know that the guy's sitting on Sunday within an hour or so notice, and that, you want to be smart and save your substitution for that reason, then you can throw a guy in last. I actually like that idea.
Well, and we kind of lament, us who are all so hyper focused on the league, we lament what we presume to be maybe some players or some fellow owners who just plug in great lineups and they only have to worry about injuries. But this would further raise the level of strategy involved. To your point, Jack, you're going to save your substitution, or you're going to put it in there, or maybe we do you have a limited number of substitutions, injury or otherwise.
I actually, that's an interesting one. What if you even just did one sub a week or two? My thinking is that once you take a guy out, you can't put him back in. So
right.
that would still be the same. That starts to open up possibilities for me in terms of using that substitution or two substitutions, using that in a judicious manner, right? So I say, okay, well, I have a player who is going to Milwaukee. He's a power hitter. Typically, he has a good chance of hitting home runs. But then he's going to, I don't know, L.A., and he's going to face Kershaw, right? Do I sub him out and put somebody else in? That's really interesting.
And it also increases the value. I mean, the benches have value, but right now, if you have a healthy team, you got players who never see game action all year from your bench because you got starters entrenched. But in a one-game situation on a Saturday or a Sunday when Kutch is going to sit, that might be the time to put in Jackie Bradley.
Quite frankly, I mean, this week in particular, I would have made two changes. I knew Sunday night that I was probably overthinking it, and by Tuesday, I knew I had overthought it. And so this week would have been a really interesting thing because I would have been able to correct it. And I don't know if the site could actually handle it, but it would put a lot more pressure on the commissioner to make those changes if that was the case. But
if you limited it, that would be fun, right? Two, whether it's injury or performance, you make two substitutions a week, and so that way,
you can't. I don't know that you. I mean, I guess you can do anything, but limiting the injury substitutions, I don't like that idea. Not that you generally get more than two a week, but should you? I think that should be. I mean, I'm open to anything, but limiting it right to where it can only happen. It will happen though, and right now it would be on the commissioner to the routine, Tim, to go in there and make the change on a daily basis for each of the guys. Yeah, it takes. Some of the lazier owners might not like it. It does require that to be paying attention in order to utilize it.
It could hurt you though,
correct.
too.
Not all the time.
It could,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. It could absolutely, and it'll probably be used more. I would think more on a like Tim was explaining, on a series by series basis. My guy's playing in Colorado, he's not playing in Colorado type situation, than even a game by game per se. But again, you could, if you had one or two, you could hold on to it because your fucking catcher is going to sit on fucking Sunday every goddamn week. So
and rainouts. Think about rainouts alone. Games postponed due to rain. You could substitute a guy in. The 7:00 game is postponed to rain. You look at the weather forecast; it's not looking good. Like they're going to get the game in. So I'm gonna play my card and pull it. Yeah, you're right. The lazy owners might not like it, but again, that's why I like it. Is because it's another differentiating factor. I mean, the Clint Hurdles of our league, the intellectually lazy Clint Hurdles of the league, like my Pirates manager.
Is that a compliment or a criticism?
No, it's a criticism of Hurdle. I mean, my God. For us as managers, it would be a lot more. I think it'd be a lot more fun.
Yeah, no, I agree. The other situation where I could see it coming to play, you got a guy comes back from injury on Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right.
At this point, you're just not using him that week because you're not going to sacrifice the first couple of days. But that would bring that into play as well.
But what you're saying is 2 additional substitutions, and net of any, you could have 5 injury substitutions, and you would still get your 2 injury substitutions. Okay.
Correct.
Right. Or whatever we decide, whether it's one. Or
even if it was one, it'd be fun. Like you really save that.
And we've all been there. We've all hoped for an injury. We've all had a guy doing so good on our. Let's say, for instance, you had a guy on your bench that got you an 11 and change.
Yeah, exactly. I knew you were going to go there, you motherfucker.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, believe me, I
tried to avoid that for all night long, and it finally came out. Fucking 2.5 hours in.
You almost made it.
Damn it, Jack.
but when you have 2 players on this, like I have Altuve and Springer, if they're playing Saturday and their game gets rained out.
I had a game postponed. I guess they were already playing a doubleheader the next day, so this game got kicked to like September, and it's gone. And it was I had multiple players in the game. Oh, it was Tampa and Baltimore. I had my catcher, Longoria, and Dickerson. You can't go back and forth. So if you take that you're all of a sudden you're taking out Longoria and putting in whatever schlep I have on the bench that plays third base, then I'm stuck with that guy, from that game on. But at least I'm getting that game. I like it.
It just offers everyone more options. And we all have players on our bench who it's like every week, it's like, oh, I don't have that many this year, but it's like, oh, damn, do I start this guy or that guy? I have 3 good middle infielders. Who do I start? And it's that chance to make a mid-game correction. Thank you, Clint Hurdle, for having such apathy that it inspired me to think of like, God damn, Clint's just laying down on Sundays for the opponent to roll over us. And roll over us, they did, by the way.
Could be worse. Trust me.
Oh, awful.
Although Nicky Williams is up. We're bringing the kids up. Might as well start now.
It's coming. It's coming. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, it was wonderful getting together and having this talk. And I hope you all have a wonderful start to the week tomorrow. We'll talk to you soon.
Happy 4th of July, guys.
Happy 4th of July.
Have a great holiday, fellas.
Yeah.
That's right. America.
Happy 4th of July.
Yeah. America.
Fuck yeah. God, what a great movie.
Yep.
I introduced Dante to it last week, actually. He enjoyed it thoroughly.
Did you realize just how absolutely rude that movie was, like when you're watching it with your 17-year-old?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Miles and I watched it, and he liked it, but holy I felt like a bad parent. I really did. Like, and I know.
When that movie first came out, Carly must have been 3 years old, 4 years old maybe, And I walked in from the store, and my ex was the opening credits were just rolling, and I had never seen it myself. But I was like, "Is this Team America World Police?" And she was like, "Yeah, it's." And I was like, I don't think this is appropriate. And that's for me to say those words about anything in life is shocking. And she was like, Greg, what the fuck are you talking about? They're marionettes. How offensive could it be? 1 minute and 26 seconds later, we were on to Finding Nemo for the 15th time.
Oh my gosh. All right, guys. Well, listen,
all right, guys.
I absolutely love doing this. Yep. Talk to you later. Have yourselves a good evening.
All right, fellas.
Bye.
Night.
Be good.
You ready?